I believe, Ryan, your team did about a little over 23 million last year. And Alicia, you did a little over 11 million. And you did close to 10 million. So congratulations to each one of you. That's pretty big success. The first thing I do want to ask is, Alicia, we'll start with you, if you don't mind passing the microphone. When did you begin your real estate career, and what made you decide to get into real estate?
I started in 2012. I did take time off during that time. I needed to figure out what I was doing. I was young. I just, had no, I didn't go to college. College wasn't for me. And I found real estate on, I think, a Craigslist ad. And I came in and met with, I forgot who the recruiter was at that time, but met with them, took the classes with Coldwell Banker, and have been here since.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Ryan,
Okay.
same question.
I started in 2003. I just graduated from Mizzou. I was in business school, and I loved the real estate electives. So I took all the extra real estate courses and then just came back here, got my license, went to like 4 brokerages, met with Norm, and thought this was the right fit, and then have been here ever since.
What you mentioned when you met with Norm, what about your meeting with Norm encouraged you to work for Coldwell Banker Premier Group? I'm sorry? Yes, it is.
It seemed like he was a mentor and like had all the resources and got their agents back, where I felt like some of these other brokerages gave that appearance, but they just didn't have that genuine interest at hand. So,
well, I appreciate your comments. That's very nice. Josie, when did you begin, and what was interesting to you about getting into real estate?
So I started in 2019, and I really didn't have real estate on my radar because I was a hospital administrator for 15 years, and I thought that was my career path. But after moving here from California, I could not land a healthcare job, and my in-laws, who all have their real estate licenses, encouraged me to get my license. So I did, and I will never go back to healthcare. I mean, kudos to all the healthcare workers, but it's not my thing anymore.
Yeah, everybody has their niche. Keep the microphone for a second.
Yes.
Yeah, so was there anybody who might have recruited you?
Yes, as a matter of fact.
And who would that have been?
I purchased a home, and the realtor that helped me is Melissa Fee. And so when I decided to get my license, I only thought of her because we were friendly, but not friends yet at the time. And when I told her, she set up a meeting right away, and we met with the broker and the recruiter. And yeah, as soon as I got my license, this is the only place I've been. Yeah. Since.
Okay. We'll start with Alicia here. What did you begin doing in your business? What did you have a business plan?
So I guess going all the way back to 2012, I took all the classes and everything. Norm was the one that was doing all the training, and I started with phone calls. I remember him, you have options of these things that you want to do. And so I went and I researched phone numbers, and I started making calls. And I think within the first, month, I probably had my first transaction. But I did, when I had training, I came up and made the calls. I didn't go and leave, and I didn't do anything else. I came up and found phone numbers and started working on them. And so
do you have a database that you work off of?
Yeah, I just use Google Sheets. I put everybody in there, and that's where everybody's at, and that's how I keep track of all my clientele and potential clients. And
how many people do you think you have in your database?
I haven't looked in a while. It was over 2,000 the last I looked. But
how did you build that database?
You just add them. As soon as you come across somebody that's a potential client, you just add them to that database and add a follow-up to them, and you just keep touching them.
Okay, very good, very good. Ryan, how did you begin when you started your real estate? When you joined and you went through the training, what did you do to begin your business?
Yeah, I went through Norm's training, and then I had Stephen Piotrowski also training. He's retired since. And then, so I started with a lot of open houses. I started like with my sphere of influence, marketing to them. But open houses were my big one. I would hold like Marty Frumhoff's listings open in South City because I had a little bit of grip in South City. So I would go preview everything that was on the market and know what is sold around there. And then when people would come in the open houses on Sunday, and it wasn't the right house for them, I would know of other listings on the market and say, hey, what are you doing, at 3:30? Maybe we can go check out this other one. It has 4 bedrooms over on Hartford. And then just kind of started getting clients that way and building my database from there. And so I did a lot of open houses. I was usually doing like 3 a week back then, and building the database.
Okay. How many people do you think you have in your database?
We're at like 550 right now.
Okay. And how did you get to that point?
Just over the years of transactions, and like Alicia's saying, just meeting people, and if they seem like a good fit, and just staying in front of them by putting them in your database. And we send out mailers and emails, and we have a lot of team parties, client appreciation parties. We just want to stay in front of them.
Good. Josie, what did you do to begin your business?
So Norm would say, don't be an undercover agent. So I really took that to heart. So any opportunity I get, I will let people know, at the grocery store, which happened to me yesterday, like anywhere. And then also Op City helped me a lot, especially once I've figured out how to take advantage, of the system. And, it does require a lot of follow-up and consistency, but it does pay off.
Yeah. And that's wonderful. Do you have a database that
Yes,
you use?
Google Sheets.
Okay.
And it's really because of Alicia that I have my Google Sheets.
Mhm.
And I have about 760 right now.
Okay. Very good. Very good. I'll let you keep it.
Oh, yes,
Josie.
of course.
How long did it take you to feel confident that you were going to be successful in this business?
So I got my license in February. I would say by the end of the year, November, December.
What was that aha moment that you knew you were going to be successful?
Once I got to the closing table, and I loved the feeling and seeing the happy faces of my clients, and knowing that at one point, they couldn't purchase a property like not too long ago, and now they're here, getting ready to get their keys. Yeah. And then also too, for me, I wanted to make sure I knew the contract, and Norm always says the answers are in the contract. So knowing your contract, and that also helps with your confidence, because you know what you're talking about, you can reference it, and I would practice. If I had a client that was interested in a property, I would already write up an offer, so that way, and at the time you had to submit offers like that day, within a couple hours after viewing a property. And so I made sure that my clients were ready, and that helped a lot too.
I like that your practice was just writing it up, and whether they wrote or not, at least you're experiencing that and getting ready to submit that offer for your buyer. So kudos to you on that. I remember you telling me about that a couple years ago, and I thought that was very,
I still do it.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
So Ryan, how long did it take you to feel confident that you were going to be successful, and what was your aha moment?
I don't really remember, but if I had to take a stab at it, I'd say after 3 years, I hired our first assistant and started building the team. And I'd say probably about 6 months in, that's when I think my business really started to take off. And once I realized I could support an assistant and then still like increase business, I'd say that was probably like a moment where I'm like, we could do this, and then build a team from there.
Why did you decide to hire an assistant?
I got to a point where I was too busy, and I was not good at the paperwork and organization. That's not my skill.
Mm-hmm.
So to have somebody that was their skill, it really helped.
Okay. And did that free up time for you to go out? And
Absolutely. It freed up so much time. Yeah.
Good for you. Good for you. Alicia, how long did it take you to feel confident that you were going to be successful, and what was your aha moment?
To be honest, once I was able to get appointments and start taking listings and writing offers, I'm like, I can do this, I just did it. I didn't really have a choice. My husband and I we didn't really have any money, and I just had to dig my way out of a hole that I was in, and I didn't have a choice but to make the calls and work hard. So
Good for you.
just could do it.
So go ahead and keep that for a second. What are some of the challenges that you faced early on and may still face today?
I guess rejection would probably be the only one, but I'm at the point now where it doesn't, I mean, it never really fazed me. It's hard to, in the beginning, making the calls and getting hung up on, and, you know, people being negative and stuff on the phone, that was tough, but you just have to keep going, because, I mean, you're going to find people that will, you know, want you to sell their home or to help them with whatever, you know, investment goals they have or whatever it may be. So you just got to keep going.
That's great advice. And what percentage do you think people say no versus people who say yes?
I mean, I guess I haven't really done the numbers. At this point, I appreciate a no, and to not call me again, because then I don't have to waste my time trying to call you. So yeah.
No, that's good. That's really good advice. So Ryan,
Yes.
what kind of challenges did you face day to day whenever you began?
I think it was probably time management was probably the biggest one. Like, what's the most important thing we could be doing right now, and just to try to prioritize like what that is, and then just leave the small stuff for later, or maybe even never. But just to kind of focus on what is the most dollar productive. That was something Norm taught me. Like, what's the most dollar productive thing you can be doing right now, and to figure that out and focus on that and not get distracted by the other day-to-day operations. Then that was it.
What would you recommend to get started as a activity that is important, that's dollar productive?
I think it's to kind of find your pillars. Like mine were open houses and Sphere when I started, and maybe yours are expireds or for sale by owners or door knocking, whatever it is, whatever you feel comfortable with, whatever's working, then just focus on that and spend more time doing that.
Fantastic. Thank you for that advice. Josie, what challenges did you face when you began?
So actually time management also, and then figuring out what, like, farm area and where I want to be. Where do I want to focus my business? Do I want to be driving all around town and helping everybody? Or, I mean, which would be great, but there's just one of me. Or just like, you know, I live in St. Charles, so, you know, focusing in St. Charles County and getting to know that area. Kind of like what Ryan was saying, like knowing what has sold in the last, you know, X amount of months in a certain area and what's coming on. And, you know, then once you become very like intelligent in that way, that's how, you know, you gain the trust also of your clients.
What works for you to obtain buyers or sellers?
Meeting me in person. Hello. Why wouldn't you?
There you go.
Me? No.
Meeting over. Just kidding.
And just knowing my stuff and being okay to say, well, let me find out for you. You know, like I don't have to know everything, but I have to know enough.
Good for you. Good for you. How about you, Ryan?
Oh, I totally agree with that. It's you don't need to know everything. You can always get back to them, but knowing enough information to have a conversation, like an intelligent conversation with, you don't even know who that next client's going to be, but just to be prepared by knowing your markets and to knowing your information, it helps.
Good. How about you, Alicia?
What was it?
What works for you to obtain buyers and sellers?
I mean, just, you know, I do postcards, so I'll call them too. So properties that I just sell, I'll mail out postcards to a certain number of potential people, and then I call them. So the phone calls have always been my biggest thing. Open houses, you know, I did not have good luck with them for years. I mean, I kept doing them, and I finally, within the last few years, have been more successful with that. So I would say phone calls and open houses.
So what I'm kind of hearing here is a pattern. So Alicia created her niche with phone calls, right? And you call how many people a day?
I mean, it was much higher last year. But anyway, right now it's probably around 100 a day.
Okay, still, I mean, that's still incredible. Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, but your niche is your sphere of influence?
Yeah, it's Sphere, and to get started with open houses.
And open houses, great. And Josie, your niche is just meeting people. Am I right about that?
Just meet me.
Just meet me, yeah, okay. What creative ways are your buyers winning contracts? We'll start with you, Josie.
Oh, wow. Well, it depends. So make sure that your client, number one, is comfortable, right? Because if they tell you, no, I don't want to go, this is, so just make sure that you have their best interests first. Secondly, I mean, there's different ways. There's like, you could put in an appraisal gap. Let's rewind, reaching out to the listing agent, because you want to make that initial contact, especially if you know it's a multiple offer situation. You want to get in front of that listing agent. Hey, my client, he's a strong client, and this is why. Once you have that connection, I feel, with a listing agent, that will help a lot. And then just the terms. It's not always price. Sometimes it's the terms. Like, are you doing inspections, inspection resolution time, appraisal, closing, everything. And so that's why that first contact with the listing agent, you can ask that information. Hey, what's important to your seller? Do they want to close early or late? Like, things like that.
Good. Ryan, is there anything that you feel that Josie didn't share? I think we can all agree with what Josie said, but is there anything else that you think has been working for buyers to win contracts?
So on our team, I'm specific to listing agents. So I'm not writing these offers, but I'm seeing them. I'm seeing all of them. I'm seeing what's working. And to Josie's point, absolutely, like reaching out to the listing agent is very helpful. Like giving a story about your client, wanting to understand what the seller wants as far as like closing date and terms, and then again, see what your client's comfortable going to. Because it's tough with some of these multiple offer situations. There's only so much your client's willing to go, but you just want to make sure that they're comfortable going to that number and not getting under contract to walk away.
That's great. I like hearing that on the listing side of things. When you're talking with your sellers, what kinds of things do you tell them to kind of look for in an offer that might be better over another one?
Yeah, to that point, I've recommended my sellers go with offers that are less than other higher offers, just kind of based on the buyer story that I know and the agent, knowing that agent's going to be easy to work with and not going to be a 45-day dating disaster. So, they're just kind of red flags that I've picked up over time. Like I've worked with this agent, I know that this is going to be a smooth transaction. I've worked with this agent, I know this is not going to be a smooth transaction. You just kind of things you pick up on over years.
Okay, it's good information. Alicia, what kinds of things are your buyers doing to win contracts?
Basically a lot of the same things. Number one is calling the seller's agent to see, what's important to that seller. Number two is also staying in touch with them after you submit the offer, because you want to get a gauge if there's other offers that came in, if they'll disclose anything. I just submitted one this morning, has 13 offers, but I've called the agent multiple times throughout the past couple of days, and we might not win, which I don't think we will, because there's an offer that waived all of this. The seller's agent disclosed everything about the offers. But my clients are comfortable with knowing they've submitted the highest and best that they're comfortable with, and also being able to adjust their offer even a little bit more to try to make that difference. So the communication is huge, and relationships with agents are huge, because you want to have a good rapport with an agent, moving forward, because you're probably going to work with them again at some point.
I'm glad you brought up the fact that, it is the buyer's choice, and they should only make an offer based on what they're comfortable on. In the end, if they don't win it, they know that they didn't pay more for a house or waive a contingency that was important to them to purchase that home. Okay, so it is important to have that conversation. So I'm really glad you brought that up. Alicia, what kind of marketing tools or materials work best for you when you have a listing?
It'd be great to do some postcards to mail out or door knock. I've never really been a door knocker, but things that I use are more of just my in-marketing binder that I do. So I print out, sheets, sign-in sheet, all the disclosures are in there.
How about social media?
I do some. Yeah, I post a little bit on social media. I don't know if it really helps with anything. I probably should hire someone to help more with boosting that, but
What about photography?
I do hire a professional photographer to do pictures for all the properties that I have.
Why is that important to you?
Because I wouldn't be able to take pictures like they can. Yeah, I've tried in the past and they don't look good, and that's what they do. So why not hire them?
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Ryan, what kind of marketing materials are important for you to use?
we do the same stuff basically. Yeah, we have marketing brochures that we leave at the house for the buyers and the agents. We do postcards, and when we do postcards, whatever clients we have in that zip code or like surrounding zip codes, like our past clients, our sphere, we send them a postcard too, just to kind of stay in front of them. It's like brand recognition. And then also with social media, we're trying to change that up. We've been pretty good at posting and we have a good amount of followers, but now we're trying to add more personal stuff. We've realized that we've gone way too much business, and that's just like every other agent. So trying to add.
So I'm glad you brought that up. In our social media training, we talk about the importance of what you should be posting. And I believe Katie Helms educates everyone that about 80% should be more lifestyle and only about 20% should be your business, because you'll lose people if you're business, because you're soliciting. But if you put fun content in there, you know, events and stories and maybe a restaurant or a festival or whatever it might be, you know, it doesn't have to be about your personal life by any means, but lifestyle postings. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I do think that is important to capture the audience and keep them. So thank you.
Yeah, and to that point, like if we have a listing in a neighborhood, we might post that. And what we're trying to get back to now is to go into like a good local restaurant or something that has a good social media following and tag them, and then they tag, and just kind of gets more legs that
That's
way.
fantastic. What about video and drone? You guys have been known to do that on some of your listings.
Yes.
Why is that important?
It's good content. Like whenever we do video, we always do the vertical shot so that we can just focus it on social media. We haven't found too much of a need to put it online with like the horizontal shots, and just it costs more, where the simple, I mean, with our photographer, the vertical shots, it goes to social media, and that's what we get the best bang for our buck out of.
I do want to comment, if you follow the Shikowski Jury team, real estate team on social media, some of their videos are obviously very professional. They're very, very good. Sometimes they have a little bit of humor in them. So I recommend you follow, because it is fun to watch.
Thanks.
And it looks like you guys have fun too.
Yeah,
Josie, when you have a listing, what kind of marketing is important for you and your seller?
So the same thing, social media. I do like using my CB Desk, Moxie, Impress. And so I usually will do like a one sheet. If it's like an open house, you can choose 5 photos, and then it'll take the verbiage from your listing and put it on there. So I'll do that, or just listed, and I'll have that there. And then just the usual, you know, sometimes I will, and I haven't done this all the time, like the weather's too hot, but I will preview and do like a special for the neighbors, like a special open before the actual open, so they can feel like they're, you know, invited to something. And they're going to inevitably go in anyways. So, you know, good. Yeah.
We're getting, it's running a little bit longer than what I had hoped, but this is great conversation. So I kind of want to end it by asking each one of you, if there is one thing that you can share with anyone here, whether they're new or experienced, that you feel is important in real estate, would you share that?
Yes. So, especially for seasoned agents, I guess, going back to basics, you know, because I feel like there could be a lot of ebb and flow, right? It's feast or famine. So for those times that it's not maybe as busy, go back to what you were doing before. Make those calls, you know, reach out to those people that were past clients or your sphere, and, you know, just have a conversation, because it doesn't hurt to have a conversation. And who knows, you know, they might not be ready to buy or sell, but they might know somebody. Oh, perfect timing. I just talked to my mother-in-law and they want to sell, you know, so you just never know. But just keeping lines of communication open with your sphere.
Ryan.
Yeah, a lot of that, like in summary, is just find what works for you and what's your most dollar productive activity, like as Norm teaches, and stick to it. And like you might have a bad day or a bad call or whatever, and then to like Alicia's point, it's next up. You got to get up, and you're gonna have failures. It's like what we teach our 14-year-old boys on a baseball team. It's like next pitch, like pick your head up. You know, you walk around like this. That's contagious. So just kind of move on. We've all had those clients and those tricky calls and whatnot. I call them like the 10-90, like, because 10% of them might take up 90% of your time, but just kind of move on from them and just find the people that you want to work with, because they're contagious and they'll share your name with the like people that you'll also want to work with.
Fantastic. Alicia.
You gotta stick to your to me, schedule is most important, because when I'm off my schedule, it throws me off and I'm not doing the things I should be doing. Like, it takes time to make calls, and door knocking or open houses, all those things take hours of time. And so if you're not doing them or getting them done, you're not going to get them done, which I've experienced early in the year this year. So you have to do it. And if you're gonna, if you have a time set for phone calls and you can't do it at that time, you have to push it to later in the day, because otherwise you're backed up and then you get behind, and it's not a full circle. You're all over the place. So that's right.
Norm, I think, has a question.
It sounds like you all treat this as business, right? It's not a part-time job.
No.
Started, you're never coming into the office every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going to work. How would you think somebody could get started on a part-time basis?
I don't think so. It's really a full-time job. I don't know how you would, to be honest. The past few weeks for me have been pretty busy. I'm exhausted, I'm tired, but you'll have your breaks, in between, but you can't. If I'm getting up and getting started in the morning, to be honest, I'm still working at night most nights until I go to bed. But hopefully at some point I'll find a separation, but I don't know how anybody could do it part-time.
Ryan or Josie, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, there are a lot of agents out there, and the buyers and sellers have a lot of options. So it's going to be tough to sell yourself as a part-time agent when your competition's working full-time. So
yeah, okay.
But I think starting out, like if you're just starting out, you may have to, if you don't have like another partner or another income coming in, or if you don't have enough savings. That's just being realistic, because you're not going to have a deal. Like, if you're lucky, hey, great, kudos to you. My first deal, I didn't have a closing until 4 months in. So what's going to happen in those 4 months if I don't have another income source, if I don't have savings? So there's that. But if you do this business right, you will have no time to do something else. If you want to take it to the heights that you can, and it's up to you, to do that, then I don't think that there's room. Because just like what Alicia and Ryan are saying, we're exhausted. We're still working when we go home, it never ends. But we love it, and we don't mind doing it, because this is our business and this is the way we want to run it.
And speaking to the part-time, have a goal, have a date where you say, okay, I'm doing this full-time. Okay, so have that goal. Are there any other questions for the panel this morning? Yes, Sharon.
Never recommended to buyers to buy a rental project, right? Is that a part of this? Because 13 offers is a lot, right? I've never been a bidding towards a first home.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, is that a part of your advice that you give the clients, is to buy a rental?
It's not my advice, but if I'm having a conversation and they seem interested in it, or if they've had experience doing it, because if you're a first-time home buyer and right. So if it's something that they've done before and they want to have a conversation with me about it, yes, then I'll talk to them about it. Tell them about the different, loan programs available to them and things like that, timeframes, whatever. Yeah, but I don't say, yeah, get this foreclosure or get that. Right.
Thinking more about the buyers that are paying under the branch to a what advice about.
There is a program through lending that, and I think you guys probably are aware of it, where you can buy a property and the loan that they take out on it will have more money in it. That way, that money can be used to renovate the home. So I don't know anybody here who has utilized that, but I do know an agent in Washington who has in the past. So yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Equity and the value of your home.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Is there any
story? I got a second. Immediately after closing on my parts, is that other program is building hard to get?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Okay. Are there any other questions for the panel? Well, thank you guys very much. We really appreciate it. Congratulations to your success.